What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be looking at exercises for a condition called spondylolisthesis. This is an issue that typically happens in the low back and involves a crack or fracture in the vertebrae, which then allows the vertebral body to either shift forward or backward. In most cases, people will have isolated sort of general low back pain, and in some cases they can have radiating nerve pain down one or both legs. If this is an issue you've been diagnosed with, stay tuned for today's video. I'm going to show a few exercises that can help. So again, what happens with spondylolisthesis is that we see a slippage or movement of the vertebral body. So if you look here on the model, our low back are these bottom 5 vertebrae. This big piece in the front is the vertebral body, and with spondylolisthesis you'll see a pars defect or a fracture, a crack in the bone back here, which when this breaks, it allows the vertebral body to shift forward or backward. When we look at the research on this in terms of treatment, the things that have the best evidence are stretching exercises for the muscles that attach to the pelvis, so usually stretching the hamstrings and hip flexors, and I'll show 2 stretches for those. And then exercises that strengthen and stabilize the low back, strengthen the low back muscles, but keep the spine in neutral. So we're going to look at 5 exercises that cover these areas. So as I mentioned, stretching the muscles that attach to the pelvis often can help reduce tension and pain in people who have spondylolisthesis. The first one here is a hamstring stretch. This stretch strap works really well. It's a nylon, it's not an elastic band, it's a nylon band, and it has loops in it that you can use for lots of different types of stretches. If you don't have one of these, you can also just use a towel or something like that at home. You're gonna hook it over your foot and then lie on your back and just do sort of a traditional hamstring stretch. So the other leg can be bent or straight, whatever is most comfortable for you. And then you're going to straighten your knee and use your arms to pull the leg up until you feel a stretch in the hamstrings on the back of the leg. For stretches, it's typically helpful to hold for 15 to 30 seconds and to perform each stretch 2 to 4 times. You could spread these throughout the day. We're mainly using them here to help reduce pain and take some compression off of the low back. And I would recommend doing both legs. So stretch one side, hold for 15 to 30 seconds, and then maybe switch over to the other side. And then later on in the day, maybe a few different times, perform these stretches over again. Okay, so that's our first stretch, a hamstring stretch. Our second stretch will be for the hip flexor muscles, which are on the front side of the hip. They actually run from every level of our low back, L1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then attach on the inside of the femur, this upper thigh bone. So stretching them can actually directly help take pressure off of the low back. For this one, if I'm stretching my right side, I'm going to put that knee down. And the key here is I don't want my low back to arch. Going into extension often increases pain in people who have spondylolisthesis. So what you want to do before you go into the stretch is to tighten your abdominals and tighten your glutes. Doing that will cause my pelvis to go into posterior tilt and will create a bit of flexion in my low back or rounding. From there, I already kind of get a stretch on the front of my hip just by tucking my pelvis. Then from there, I'm going to tuck my chin in and just gradually shift forward, not arching my back. Don't arch your back like that. Just tighten here and then shift forward just a little bit right until you feel a stretch right here on the front of the hip. It shouldn't have to be a huge degree of shifting, especially if you preset by tightening your glutes and abs. Again, look to hold for 15 to 30 seconds. And repeat on both sides. Okay, so that's our second stretch, a hip flexor stretch. The next 3 exercises will be lumbar stability exercises, so more of kind of strengthening exercises, teaching you how to control your low back and strengthen those stabilizers. The first one here is going to target our lumbar flexors or abdominals. So what you're going to do with this one is lie on your back, and you're going to bring one leg up at a time, up to this kind of tabletop position. And then you're going to tighten your abs and flatten your low back into the ground. So kind of squish it into the ground, take away the curve. And then I'm going to lower, keep those abs tight, and I'm going to lower one leg at a time and touch my heel. The goal is to really keep those abs engaged and to prevent your low back from arching. So as you drop your leg down, your low back is going to want to arch. So make sure you keep squeezing and use your abs to keep your back flat on the ground. You're going to go back and forth like this 10 to 20 times. And like any other strengthening exercise, I would recommend going for 2 to 4 sets to help strengthen your lumbar flexors, those abdominal muscles. Our next exercise will be for our lateral flexors, our oblique muscles. So this is called an offset side plank. What you're going to do is get into sort of normal side plank position, but instead of stacking my feet, I'm going to put them heel to toe, which will help to target my trunk muscles rather than my hip muscles. So from here, put your arm up on top, your other arm up on top, and then use those trunk muscles on the bottom side, those oblique muscles, to lift your pelvis off the ground. And then you're just going to perform an isometric hold here. Just work up to the level that is challenging for you. Usually we'll try to build up to around 30-second holds on each side and maybe perform 2 to 3 sets of this. So if you can only do 5 to 10 seconds starting out, just do that. Stop if you get pain. But this will help to build strength in my lateral flexors on the bottom side. So make sure you do both sides with this. Hold for as long as you can, and then just switch over to the other side. Okay, so that is our second stability exercise, a offset side plank. Before I get into the last exercise, just want to mention that my book is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. It has comprehensive rehabilitation programs for the 50 most common injuries and pain issues. Each body region has its own chapter. So today we're talking about the low back and spondylolisthesis. You'll find a program for this here on page 286. Every condition is going to have a description, talk about the common signs and symptoms, aggravating factors, a prognosis, how long does it take to get better, and then a treatment strategy. And like I said, these programs are more comprehensive than my YouTube videos. They're going to have 3 phases. There are pictures of me doing all the exercises and instructions. So really, it's a more comprehensive program like you'd get if you came to see me in the clinic. Just more options, and will help guide you through and allow you to self-manage your own pain issues. So everything from low back pain, tennis elbow, plantar fasciitis, sciatica, all the common conditions. So if you'd like a resource that allows you to self-manage your own pains and injuries, I will put a link for the book down in the description. All right, the last exercise here is going to strengthen the posterior chain, so the muscles on the back side of our spine, our lumbar extensors. This will also get the glutes. And we're going to do a single leg bridge, but we're going to modify it slightly to help keep our pelvis in posterior pelvic tilt, which will keep our low back closer to neutral and sort of help reduce the chances that it goes into extension. So for this one, you're going to lie on your back again, and I'm going to do a single leg bridge on both sides. So I'm going to start with my right leg, and then I'm going to hold my left leg up here so that my hip is in flexion, which will again bias my pelvis towards posterior pelvic tilt. And then from here, I'm going to do single leg bridges while I hold this other leg. So I'm just going to go for, a set of probably 10 to 15, 2 to 3 sets on each side. So once I get through my reps on my right leg, then I'll switch. I'll put my left leg down and then bring the right leg up and hold it, and then do my single leg bridges here. So again, doing this will help ensure that my low back doesn't go into extension. Again, going into extension can worsen some people's symptoms who have a spondylolisthesis, so this will kind of help protect the low back. Okay, so those are 5 exercises, 2 stretches and 3 sort of stability/strengthening exercises that often help people with this issue. If you have any questions, put them down in the comment section, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.